every 20 minutes. It's your statewide Alabama weathercast.
Hi, meteorologist James Spann with the Alabama Weather Network. So we've got the afternoon forecast here, and we're taking a look at the satellite and radar, and we've got quite a bit of low cloud cover, or as far as just scattered cumulus clouds across a good portion of the state, but just a few scattered showers, a few along the 59 corridor. And you can see there are some heavier thunderstorms that have formed over the North Georgia mountains. Some of those could kind of sneak into the northeastern corner of the state later on this evening, but it looks like, again, most of the state will be staying dry for today with plenty of sunshine and plenty of heat. Looking at our sky cams, you can see that as far as the temperatures are concerned, it's 93 degrees in Russellville right now. However, the dew point is 67 degrees, so we've actually gotten a little bit of mixing of the atmosphere with this heat that's helped to bring down some of the drier air that's a little bit above the surface and bring those dew points down, so not quite as humid as it could be in some of these spots across the state. It's 92 degrees in Montgomery right now, blue skies and cloud cover. Dew point 66 degrees, so same kind of story there in Montgomery, and especially it's been kind of the eastern part of the state and southeastern part of the state where there's been a little bit more drier air moving in on the other side of the kind of the northwest side of Hurricane Erin. So looking at Dozier, though, further to the west, the temperature is 90, but the dew point 72 degrees, so not or there's a little bit more moisture in place in that part of the state. And down towards Point Clear, as you get closer to the Gulf, we're still got plenty of humidity in place with the temperature at 93 degrees, so a warm day along the coast there, but a beautiful view of Mobile Bay. All right, so what we're watching for today and the rest of this week, so we're going to be seeing highs in the 90s today. We've got that heat advisory in place in the northwestern corner of the state, but the heat levels back down as we get through the end of the week, and showers and thunderstorm chances are on the increase as we head towards the end of the week. And as we look into next week, we'll actually be seeing a little bit more of a cool off with a rare August front moving through from the north. So we'll talk about that more in a bit. But before we get there, the heat advisory is still in effect for the kind of the northwestern quarter of the state here. And it's until 8 p.m. tonight. Not expected to see another one of those tomorrow as the heat levels back down. So that's good news, but the temperatures right now are very hot in some spots. 97 actually in Florence, the hot spot up in the northwestern corner of the state. It's 93 in Birmingham, 94 in Demopolis, only 89 in Auburn, and 90 degrees down in Geneva. As far as the dew points, like I mentioned, it's actually not quite as humid in some of the areas, especially in the southeast, where there's been a little bit of this drier air moving in from the east. And so we've gotten, we're just in the 60s for a lot of the areas down to the southeast, and actually some of the more humid areas up towards the north, so kind of backwards from what you might typically expect. Heat index values show a similar trend, and now it is 102 degrees as far as what it feels like in Demopolis, but you've got triple digit heat index values in the northern part of the state and not as much in the southeast. But either way, obviously it's very hot across the entire state. Futurecast showing kind of what we're seeing out there right now, just scattered clouds and a few showers possible as we get through the rest of the afternoon and evening. Again, a few of those storms from the northern Georgia mountains might make it into the eastern part of the state this evening. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, higher coverage of showers and thunderstorms. Southeast might be one of the hot spots, but then we're also expecting a little bit of a front to move in from the north that will help to enhance the chance of showers and thunderstorms in the Tennessee Valley. Could see a few strong storms with that, so we'll keep an eye on that for tomorrow. And then as we get into Thursday, another decent chance of showers and thunderstorms, or coverage of showers and thunderstorms, especially kind of in the southern half of the state. But if that boundary gets a little bit further south, then you may not see as much of a coverage for especially the Tennessee Valley for Thursday. Kind of reflected in the rainfall outlook that we see from today through Monday. So higher rain totals around an inch or so in the southeastern part of the state. And as you move to the north, it gets smaller, and you have maybe only a quarter inch in some of those areas north of Birmingham. Temperature outlook. This is something you always like to see in August. All these blues here in the temperature outlook, which is a good bit below normal. This is for next week. So August 25th through 29th next week, we'll have this cold front that will come through into the northern part of the state and will introduce some drier air, a little bit cooler temperatures in the morning and even a little bit in the afternoon, especially in the northern part of the state. But as you get further to the south, closer to the coast, closer to the Gulf, not going to be as much of a difference, but maybe still a little bit of relief even that far towards the south. Hurricane Erin, a quick update on that. The sustained wind speeds are 105 miles per hour with the latest advisory, moving towards the northwest at 10 miles per hour, and should potentially gain a little bit of strength over the next couple of days, but it's not expected to be anything explosive like it was over this past weekend. Most likely going to stay at a Category 2 status as it turns more to the north and to the northeast. There will be major impacts as far as rip currents, potentially even some storm surge along the Outer Banks. heavy surf, things like that for sure, because this is a large storm, but at least there will not be a direct landfall along the U.S. East Coast. Now, as far as tropical development for the next 7 days, we are going to be watching this area behind Aaron. This orange area here is a 60% chance of development for this wave right here. And that will be something that models right now are trying to show taking a similar track to Aaron. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, but that would be good if that's the case. And then you have another disturbance just now moving off the African coast that we'll keep an eye on as well, but that'll be a little bit further out. So again, it's that time of year that we need to watch the tropics throughout each day. All right, so this is your 7-day forecast for North Alabama. So mid-90s possible, upper 90s as we saw in some cases this afternoon. As we get through the rest of the week though, we start to back things down with higher rain chances. And then again, as we get into early next week, you see that we could see lows down into the 60s and maybe some colder spots down into the upper 50s once we get that cooler air in place, or slightly cooler air in place. And then for South Alabama, again, low mid 90s next couple of days, backing things down as far as the temperatures with increasing rain chances, and kind of a similar story, but just a little bit different there for South Alabama. All right, that's the rest of your forecast for this afternoon. James will have another update here coming up in a few hours.